over the last years, many, many years, a lot of famous, high-profile politicians, business leaders, even religious leaders who said one thing out here and lived another thing right here, right? We all know about these. And then when they get caught, all of a sudden there's a big fall. Why? Because they lack integrity. They don't act in private the way they talk in public. Their public values and their private morals are two different things. Genesis 39:10. The woman pressured Joseph every day. She's trying to have an affair with him. The woman pressured Joseph every day. But he refused to have sexual relations with her or even spend time with her. Notice this. He's not going to bend on this. What is he doing? He's creating boundaries in his life to safeguard his integrity. I don't have time to read all these to you. 30 years ago, I wrote a thing, and every staff member at Saddleback knows this one, called Saddleback's 10 Moral Commandments. And I require every married staff member to sign this covenant, which is Saddleback's 10 Moral Commandments. And I'll just read them to you, I guess, anyway. Number one, this is for married couples, married people in our church, thou shalt not visit the opposite sex alone at home. Thou shalt not counsel the opposite sex alone in the office. Thou shalt not counsel the opposite sex more than once without their person's mate. Number four, thou shalt not go to lunch with the opposite sex if you're married by themselves. Number six, thou shalt not kiss any attendee of the opposite sex or show affection that could be questioned. 6, thou shalt not discuss detailed sexual problems with the opposite sex in counseling. Refer them. Number 7, thou shalt not discuss your marriage problems with an attendee of the opposite sex. Number 8, thou shalt be careful in answering emails or social media from the opposite sex. Thou shalt 9, thou shalt make your secretary your protective ally in guarding your integrity. Number 10, thou shalt pray for the integrity of the other staff members. Now people say, oh, Rick, that is going overboard. I would rather go overboard than be thrown overboard. I want to live my life in such a way that people have to make up stuff about me. And they do. They do. But I want to live in I would rather go overboard in protecting my life. You see, I can stand before you and say with clear conscience, I've only known one woman in my life, and that's my wife. And God willing, I intend that to be true my entire life. Why? Because I've put parameters in my life. It can't happen. In 32 years as your pastor, I have never been in a room with the door closed with a woman of the opposite, of an opposite sex. Yeah, obviously. Now, a woman, that's kind of redundant, okay? With the door closed in the office. Never in 32 years. The only exception to that would be a nurse in a doctor's office. When the nurse comes in, hi. Then you're kind of looking not sexy in that little gown, you know. For many years, Harriet Lee was my secretary, nearly 20 years. And Harriet was a great protector for me. And she knew we never even went in an elevator by ourselves, down in an elevator. I wanted to live above reproach. Nobody could even make up stuff about me. Why? That's called integrity. And that is so rare today that when you find somebody who's willing to go beyond the beans, to live a life of integrity, they get promoted. And more than that, you get the blessing of God in your life in a big time way. Now, he creates safeguards for boundaries. Now, here's the point. Let me wrap this up. God wants you to shine out. He wants you to let your light shine, not hide it under a bushel. God wants you to do good, and he wants you to let others know the good you're doing. That's okay. He commands it. Jesus commanded it. He wants you to stand out at work. He wants you to be able to, man, look at that person. They're a great Christian. And if you develop these 6 traits, you will get noticed because it will be unusual. That's not the way most people live. Not with audacity, that's a life of faith. Likability, that's a life of relationships and love. Capacity, that's a life of learning. Reliability, that's a life of trustworthiness. Loyalty, that's a life of not gossiping and not tearing down other people. And a life of integrity, that you are what you are in public, what you are in secret. Look at this next verse on your outline. Philippians 2:15. You are to live clean, innocent lives as children of God in a dark world full of crooked and perverse people. Let your lives shine. Let your lives shine brightly. Let your lives shine brightly before them. That's what God wants you. How do you shine? What does a person do? How does he shine? How do people shine before the world in a dark world? Let's get practical. God wants you to be a doer of the word. Let's take these 6 character qualities and let me give you 6 ways to develop them. Just write them down. I'm not going to comment on them.